Many believe that we should disregard the Declaration of Independence in the U.S. Constitution because it was influenced by some who owned slaves. These same people provide zero evidence of the racial overtones that they seem so concerned about. Why? Because most are just repeating cliches they heard in the public schools or a soundbite that came from a talking head who hadn't read the documents either. Some are so overwhelmed by this idea that imperfect men established a foundation that would bring about more freedom and prosperity than had ever been experienced by any civilization in the history of the world. Listen, these founders were under no illusion that slavery was a real institution. In fact, many did not embody the ideals that were solidified in the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. But how is it, for example, that Frederick Douglass, a former slave and abolitionist, called the Constitution a glorious liberty document? How is it that a former slave has come to a different conclusion, a drastically different conclusion, about our charters of freedom than many Americans today? It's because he recognized that the truthfulness of a statement doesn't depend on the virtue of the person making it. He recognized ideals. So what are the ideals of the American experiment? The Declaration of Independence tells us we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that we're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, among those being life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Our ideals revolve around freedom, that freedom exists by virtue of our humanity, that it doesn't come from government, a piece of paper, or what a majority might say. The ideal reminds us that if government is going to exist, its primary function must be to secure the liberties of the people. And that if government is going to exist at all, it derives its power from you and me, we the people. Those are the ideals of the American experiment. Do you disregard those? Or what about the ideals found in the U.S. Constitution? Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, the free exercise of religion, the freedom of the press, the right to petition government for redress of grievances. That government is to secure those liberties of the people. The ideal that no man is to be a victim and no man is to be a subject, and that individuals can use force to ensure that neither one of those things happen. The ideal of being left alone. The ideal is found within due process protections, that there are rules that government has to follow when dealing with you and I. Or the ideal of limited government, that freedom's best shot is found within a system of limited government as opposed to unlimited government. You see, the Declaration of Independence was not a reflection of what was going on in 1776. It was an ideal. It was a benchmark. It was a target. The Declaration of Independence was the why, and the Constitution was the how we could get there. What are your thoughts? Do we disregard these ideals found in both of these documents because it was influenced by some individuals who owned slaves? Or do we recognize that truth is truth? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Follow me for more thoughts on America, freedom, and how we derail the runaway train going on in our country today.